Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is Jordan McLeod from Texas State. You're listening to Fun Belt Podcast.
This is the Fun Belt Podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Hosts Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howlraiser, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sun Belt.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating.
Guys, welcome back to Fun Belt Podcast. It's the normal, regular Fun Belt Podcast. No special guests, no other podcasters, just the three amigos, the original crew, sitting together. Thibodeau from the Warhawk Report, Shane Metlin from the Daily News Record, Jeremy Harper from Howlraiser, just chopping it up, trying to figure out what's going on in the Sun Belt. Guys, how are you doing?
Did you clean up the dip cups from the last episode?
Yeah, the green room is smelly. It smells of beef jerky. It smells of like old magazines and dirty underwear. I don't know what happened. Those guys, Craig Stevenson, I think, is the one that left all the farts. It's absolutely a madhouse in there. I will send them the bill for the cleanup. It was a good show. And Shane, you weren't there, damn it.
I know. I had to go to a kids lacrosse practice.
Like your kids are more important than the podcast.
On Sundays, they can be.
Well, you know, Tibbs orchestrated a great show. I mean, it was tight. I mean, it was prepared. We never strayed. It was focused like a laser on the Sunbelt, wasn't it, Tibbs?
And I still giggle knowing that Sunbelt Syndicate doesn't have an E in their Twitter handle, so it's Syndicate.
I could afford the E. Shane, if you don't know, their name's too long for Twitter. I told them that I would go to bat for them on behalf, talk to Elon myself. We're good friends.
Was that one of those things where if you pay for the premium subscription, you can change it or get more letters?
One extra letter?
Yeah. That would be a good argument. Say, hey, listen, I'm willing to pay the $7 a month or whatever it is, but you got to give me an extra character. This is killing me. It's killing me on SEO. They're not finding me on Google because of this. Could be it. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform. Heck, it's my most trusted betting platform. And your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the game. Think you know your stuff? Get in our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game is over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our 150 slots games. Head to the website today and get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here. Guys, I know that we kind of talked about last week on Sunday without Shane, which made it lose a little bit of its luster. So we're just going to
He's a Heisman Trophy voter.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we needed. I mean, we had Craig.
You only had one.
We had Craig. Yeah.
We needed 2. It's like when you launch a nuke, you need 2 guys turning the key. Mm-hmm. That's what we needed for the show. And you weren't there. You weren't there to turn the key, and that's fine. You're going to be a good dad and be there for your kids. Tibbs and I aren't going to make you feel bad for bailing on us at our moment of need when we really needed some expert opinion and advice. That's fine. You were with your children. You're being a good dad, a good husband. That's fine. But you're here with us tonight to talk about week 4 of the Sun Belt, which I'm going to tell you guys, week 4 is when everything is going to come into focus. Guys,
wait. Before we get into week 4, Jeremy,
should we talk about
other things going on?
What? What's going on? Other than week 4?
We may be losing a conference member.
No, we're not losing a conference member.
Idaho has decided they want out of the Sun Belt. Oh, it wasn't Idaho. Never mind.
Idaho's welcome to leave the Sun Belt.
I don't think North Texas is going to stay in the Sun Belt.
Good. They don't have baseball. Screw them.
You're referring to the rumors that Texas State is kind of flirting with this new paper Pac-12. Is that right?
What will we do without our boob cats? What will we do?
we'd have this inventory of Boobcat shirts that we'd have to sell to the Pac-12. By the way, my dad saw me wearing that and was like, "Your wife let you wear that?" Like, is it really that scandalous? Is it that salacious? I don't think so.
That's like when I was in high school, I had a shirt that was Beavis and Butthead looking up the Statue of Liberty's dress.
Oh my god!
And I wore it one time to my grandparents' house, and my mother was like, "You see what your grandson thinks is funny."
I remember when, the Simpsons were starting to get popular, and everybody's wearing a T-shirt with Bart on it. And my cousin had a T-shirt that just said, "Cool your jets, man." And my dad was like, "This is the beginning of the fall of civilization. You got kids telling adults to cool their jets. That's it. We're done." And now,
Speaking of jets, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring us back on topic.
Oh, thanks. Okay. We did go.
So the Viva La Boobcats have this mindset that the Pac-12 for the Pac-2, the Pac-8, whatever they're up to, will be this great cost savings, close regional rivalry.
Uh-huh.
Quick, Shane, tell me a team in the Pac-12.
Oregon State.
They are so close to San Marcos.
Yeah.
That a trip from Wacker Field to Riser Stadium, which I probably didn't say right, and I don't really care because this is just killing my point. 2,186 miles.
How about to Boise State?
Don't care.
Okay, but it's far away.
I didn't do research on that, but I mean Corvallis, the furthest away you could possibly get, and you're looking at 2,200 miles for a regional rivalry. Isn't that what we made fun of even in the early Sunbelt days when we had New Mexico State, when we had Idaho, when we had the Florida schools, that we didn't like that because it wasn't teams that we really gave six whatevers about to really care that we were playing that team. We want the regional rivalries.
I feel like the moment the Big 12 and the Big 10 said, screw it, footprints don't matter, it's like there's been this insanity. And it's not just because the cost of moving all these teams around is going to be horrendous. They've got money. It's really a disservice to fans. The fans are regional. Oregon wants to play Oregon State. Texas State wants to play teams close to them where they have a natural rivalry. What we're doing is saying, oh, it's worth it to the schools so they can get the broadcast rights, so they get the merchandising or whatever they think they're getting out of it. In the meanwhile, the people that actually fund these teams, the fans, are getting screwed with these totally soulless matchups that no one gives a shit about. So Texas State, for the love of God, you've been with the Sun Belt now for 10 years or whatever, building that rivalry, building those relationships, those bonds of hatred between the Cajuns in you and Arkansas State in you and ULM in you. And then all the teams out east now, you have these rivalries. And now you're like, oh, no, now we're going to be rivals with Boise State. Why would you do that to your fans? Tibbs, why would they do something like that?
I don't know. Because going to Norfolk, Virginia to play the weirdest team in all of college football is still not even 1,600 miles away.
Yeah.
Shane, I don't get it.
I mean, I think the big difference would be the potential $10 million a year or whatever it might be for a TV contract. And I don't think if Texas State ever is put in this position where they get to choose whether they're going to the Pac-12 or not, they're obviously not going to be the only team in that position. They might be the only Sun Belt team in that position. But I mean, if you throw another Texas school or, a Tulane or something into the mix, maybe it gets a little more palatable as far as the geography goes when you throw in the amount of money. But I mean, and Texas State, let's be honest too, if there's one team in the Sun Belt that's a little bit out there on an island away from the rest of the Sun Belt without the really hated rivals, it might be Texas State. Like, so
they're kind of
we're
way out.
talk about one team potentially leaving. It's not surprising which one we're talking about.
It would be San.
By the way, Jeremy, San Marcos to Boise State.
Yeah, I asked him.
1,700 miles.
That's a long
25 days walking there. 6 days on a bike.
Fewer miles between Texas State and ODU.
Fewer
miles.
And I think that's a key lost fact, because we always think of football, but you got to remember women's tennis, women's golf, field hockey, cheerleaders, bands, boosters. Everyone has to jump on these planes or on the bicycle built for two as they're going to these different places. So it's key to remember the bigger picture of things.
Yeah, and no, again, like when Big Ten and Big 12 decided to split up the Pac-12 and said, we're just going to make our footprint the entire United States, I guess that just made it to where that what was once insane became sane. I don't know. I don't get you. Listen, I don't have a big head for business like you, Tibbs. I don't have a big mind for big concepts like you, Shane. I don't understand how it all works for them. If it works for them, fine. But my God, consider the model of the Sun Belt. Tightly packed, just bursting with flavor. Why would you even want to entertain a model that didn't resemble the Sun Belts? The Sun Belt showed you how it's done, Shane.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason we all love it. I mean, it's kind of a throwback to what college sports were in a lot of ways, and not just like the rivalries, but sticking with like the divisions because you want to play the teams that are close to you, and the 14 schools and 10 contiguous states. I got that motto thrown at me today talking to some people about what's happening in realignment. And the other thing that was interesting to me too, talking to some people today, was somebody said basically there is a number where there's a financial number where like spreading out over time zones makes a lot of sense, but it's not $10 million.
Oh, okay.
Per school. It's more like $50 million per school or more.
Significant increase of money.
I'm not saying the Sun Belt would never break up, or like no school would ever entertain the idea of like having to fly their track team across the country. But like I said, the number for a lot of these schools to make that move is a lot higher than what the Pac-12 TV contract is going to end up being.
Shane, you gotta pull out the map and start looking up on the best ways to get from Harrisonburg to Thibodaux, Louisiana, when we add the Nichols Kernels.
You've been wanting that forever. All right, enough of this. Enough of these theoreticals. Because, guys, we have real football being played in week 4. And I've got a surprise for you guys. 3 games that the Sun Belt is playing this week are against top 5 foes. We're playing number 1, number 3, and number 5. And number 20, just to add that. So those are some pretty big games for us. It'd be great to win one of those. Not only that, Shane, not only that, Tibbs, but we play our first Sun Belt on Sun Belt match on Thursday night of all times on national TV, the only game in town. That's awesome. We got a great in-state rivalry between the Cajuns and Tulane, crossing that great Sun Belt American matchup that we all like to build up over the time. Guys, this is the most exciting week for the Sun Belt yet, and I want you to agree with me.
It is. There's nothing like a good Sun Belt future Pac-12 matchup to kick off the Saturday morning and renovated Cajun Field.
Ah, yes, renovated Cajun Field. Is it going to look like shit?
Basically.
Okay, that's all right. I'm sure they're used to that, actually. A little bit of a dig on the Cajuns, but I can do that because I'm a citizen of the Sun Belt West. Guys, are you ready for week 4 Sun Belt second and short? You heard the gong? The gong is, so I'm assuming you guys are ready. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
I just want to sit really still so you know how we feel when your internet flakes out or when Shane's does.
I think I'm beginning to think you're just not ready. I'm beginning to think that you're scared of second and short.
I'm pumped.
Okay, you're pumped. Okay, we all know
Second
how.
short.
Oh my God, you're gonna break the gong. I'm gonna have to repolish the gong now. You know how expensive that is? How time consuming? Okay, anyway. Guys, you know how second and short works. I moderate the conversation. We try to keep our reviews to under 2 minutes to keep our episode tight. We don't always do it. Guys, not everybody is playing this week, thanks to the 2-bye system that we have this year. Georgia State, Old Dominion, Texas State are taking a knee. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so. All right, you guys ready? Thursday, September 19th, 6:30 p.m. on ESPN. ESPN, the flagship station. South Alabama Jaguars, they're 1-2, versus the Appalachian State Mountaineers, they're 2-1. They get it going. Shane, I'm going to throw it to you. In the beautiful city of Boone, do the Jags even have a shot?
I mean, anything can happen.
Okay.
So everybody's got a shot, but I feel like the Mountaineers have to be a pretty significant favorite in this one. They're gonna have a great crowd on Thursday night. It's gonna be rowdy. It's gonna be psyched up for a national TV game that will get a big audience on a Thursday on the flagship station, like you mentioned. And I think App State's getting it together at this point. They pulled out the victory at ECU. Joey Aguilar is throwing the ball all over the place. He's the only quarterback in the Sun Belt who's getting 30, 40 pass attempts per game. And it's for a reason, because he can move the ball. I'm not sold on South Alabama quite yet. I think App State handles this one.
Yeah, App State no longer wholly reliant on that powerful run game. Listen, Tibbs, the Jags, they scored 87 points last week. That's just a lot of points. Now they're 7.5 dogs to the Mountaineers. 7.5 points to Appalachian State. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, they were playing the FCS team out of the south in there, good old Northwestern State, Forkham. But, yeah, I mean, you got to go to Boone. You got to go there on a Thursday night, nationally televised. They're breaking out the corncob helmets. This has a Boone ass whooping written all over it.
They are breaking out the corncob helmets. They look good. Yeah, I think you're right. I think 7.5 points is actually pick the over on that, because I think you're right. The Mountaineers come out hot. All right, a couple days later on Saturday, I mean, guys, all these games seem to be happening at 11 o'clock. I think there's like 3 or 4 11 o'clock games. First one up, Marshall Thundering Herd, 1-1. They get number 3, Ohio State Buckeyes. They're 2-0. It's at 11 a.m. It's on Fox. Buckeyes are a 39.5 point favorite.
Not the biggest spread of the week.
No, not the biggest spread. It's a big spread, though. Shane, is that spread too big?
I don't know.
He's so politically correct.
It'll be tough to keep it close, I think, for Marshall. This is not the trip to Notre Dame a couple of years ago. Ohio State's really good. Marshall's still struggling a bit. I don't know if they've completely figured out their quarterback situation. And going to Columbus in the big house, or not the big house, it's the Horseshoe. I don't know that's the best place to go to try to figure out what's going on with your offense.
Yeah, they've got pretty good running back and A.J. Turner, maybe not enough. Tibbs, what do you think? Do the Thundering Herd, did they pull off another Notre Dame miracle?
No. They get to watch the script I get dotted, and then they're going to get their own I dotted as the Buckeyes showcase why they are number 3 and trying to make their way up to number 1. But it'll be a tough week for them because number 1 is probably going to be steamrolling the team as well.
Yeah, I think week 1 they scored 52 points. The next week they scored 56. So this Ohio State knows how to score points. So yeah, don't see a whole lot of chance with the Herd, but we'll be rooting for them. Next game, those James Madison Dukes at North Carolina Tar Heels. Tar Heels 3-0, Dukes 2-0, 11 a.m. on the ACC network. The Tar Heels almost a reluctant 10.5 point favorite on that. I'm throwing it right back to you, Shane. What are we going to see from these Dukes who have been a little bit of a mystery?
Yeah, I don't know. It's been 2 really slow starts in the 2 wins for JMU, and I don't think they can afford to start slow like that at UNC. I think coming after the bye week, they're pretty confident about where they are, that they've made some improvements. They've cleaned up some of the execution that gave them trouble in those games, but I just don't know what to think about the Dukes really until I see them out there on Saturday and see just how much improvement they've made.
Yeah, the Dukes right now, it's a small sample size, putting out some really good defense. You have a pretty good running back combo in George Pettaway and Tyler Purdy. But Tibbs, is this a game that the Dukes can kind of give the Sun Belt another P4 feather in their cap?
I think it's possible, but with it being, would you say 10.5 points on the spread? I think that's about right. That North Carolina is able to kind of manage a 14-point victory, and it's a good showing, I think, for James Madison, and gives us a FCS mentality moral victory there.
That is FCS mentality, the old moral victory. Now, I will say something that the Tar Heels and the Dukes have already shared a common opponent. They both played Charlotte. The Dukes only allowed 7 to Charlotte, while the Tar Heels allowed 20. So just keep that in mind, that maybe that Dukes defense is pretty damn good. All right, so then we go to the O'Doul's Maintain Your Edge Sunbelt Game of the Week, guys. 11 o'clock a.m., just like every other game in the Sunbelt. The Tulane Green Wave, a disappointing 1-2 at the Raging Cajuns. They're 2-0. It's 11 a.m. It's on ESPNU. Vegas has it 3 points for the Green Wave. Tibbs, is this a Green Wave game or the Cajuns being a little underestimated here?
I think the Cajuns are a little underestimated. I mean, I think Tulane has the potential to kind of come in and make it a kind of blowout game. But I like the Cajuns at home, especially in the morning. You know, guys are going to be out hitting the sauce all night, getting ready for that 11 a.m. game and ready to rock and roll there in the stadium. I've heard it's even louder than normal because it's such a compact stadium that they have right now while that one side is under construction. So I really don't know what to think of this. I think the Cajuns do have the potential to pull the upset off. And yes, I do say upset when they're even at home. But that's picking with my heart. My head tells me Tulane just comes in and really makes a big statement that they are the number 2 school in the boot.
Well, let's bear in mind, Shane, bear this in mind as you make your judgments here. The Cajuns have played Kennesaw State and Grambling. And the Green Wave have played Kansas State, who is ranked, and Oklahoma, who is ranked. So they've really been in the crucible. They've played in the fire, right? They know what good teams are. I don't know if the Cajuns have yet played a really good team. Shane, is that going to make a difference?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, Tulane does have those 2 losses, but they're probably as battle-tested as any team in the country maybe right now with what they've done. And, you know, really probably should have been able to pull out a win against Kansas State and didn't. You know, yeah, and we know what John Summerall's capable of as a coach, how good his defenses can be. I think Tulane, as Dusty put it, it would be an upset maybe for the Cajuns to win that one, and I think Tulane's favored for a reason. But it would be huge for Mike DeSormo to get this one, and I know he's going to have that team pretty fired up. But yeah. I think Tulane probably pulls out a pretty close one.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, whoever wins that stadium's going to be rocking. I kind of wish. I'm glad it's on ESPNU. I wish it was on ESPN because it's going to look really good for the Sun Belt. All right, 1 o'clock. Finally, hey, we get some afternoon games. Arkansas State Red Wolves, they travel to Ames to take on number 20 Iowa Cyclones. Red Wolves are 2-1. Cyclones are 2-0. They just got off a win against their hated rival Iowa. It's at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Cyclones are. That's right. It's on ESPN Plus too, America. Cyclones are a 21.5-point favorite, which is odd because the Cyclones just aren't scoring a whole lot of points, but I don't know. Maybe they're looking at what Michigan did with that run defense. I'm going to throw it to you, Tibbs. What do you see coming down in this game?
I really was impressed. As I said, I know I was giving you grief there of Arkansas State against Michigan, but they showed out. They played really well on all three phases of the game. I think if they can go out there and do that again, Iowa State is definitely not on the same level as Michigan. I like the Red Wolves to kind of pull it out there in that one, provided that it's the same Red Wolves team that we saw last week.
It's got to be a Red Wolves team that can hit a field goal, right?
Yes.
Red Wolves missed 2 in that game. It was very embarrassing. Shane, do you agree with Tibbs on this, that this is a winnable game for the Arkansas State Red Wolves?
I think so. I'm surprised the line is as wide as it is, just given Arkansas State's performance at Michigan. And, I could see this being a situation where both teams are kind of carrying over last week in different ways. You see the letdown sometimes when you get that big rivalry win in your Iowa State. And Arkansas State, there's so much talk about them being beyond moral victories, but I think they're going to have some confidence coming out of Ann Arbor, just how competitive that game actually was. I didn't think it would be. And, they bounced back from, maybe less than impressive starts in their 2 wins. It's weird to say that maybe their loss was a little bit even more impressive than their wins, but I think Arkansas State's getting better, and I think it'll be a competitive game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game, too. I think if Arkansas State wants to win the game, they have to learn whatever lessons they learned at Michigan, and they got to bring it to Iowa State. That's the only way. They're going to have to figure out how to perform better in the red zone. They're going to have to clean up their kicking. They're going to have to get their communication down better. My heart says Arkansas State, but then I'm an Arkansas State guy. So then, at the same time, on ESPN Plus, the champagne of stations, the Virginia Cavaliers, they're 2-1, guys. They're going all the way to Conway, to that awful Teal Field, to play Coastal Carolina, who is 3-0 under Ethan Vasco. It's at 1 p.m., ESPN Plus. The Cavaliers are a 3-point favorite. It's almost like, I guess we got to make them a 3-point favorite. Shane, are they really a 3-point favorite?
I mean, maybe, but I like Coastal in this one. I mean, it's just Virginia's strength is Anthony Calandria throwing the ball, throwing the deep ball. Nobody's really done that against Coastal this year. Virginia might be better than the teams Coastal's played, but their pass defense has been pretty good. And I like Ethan Vasco. Just the more he plays quarterback for Coastal, he's not going to sling it around for 400 yards a game, but like he moves the ball, he gets them in the end zone, and like Coastal to me is like been my surprise team so far, and I just really like what I've seen from the Chanticleers so far.
Yeah, Ethan Vasco, really cool gorilla tattoo on his arm. That gives him an edge. Is that all the edge the Chants need, Tibbs, to win this game?
You said it's a field goal spread. Yeah. I mean, what better thing than the shooting range on the field goal nets to bring the game? No, look, I love Ethan Vasco. I think he's really shined this year for the Chants. I think the Chants have kind of quieted some of us that are in the doubters category. But you can't discount this running game that they've had with Braden Bennett and Christian Washington accounting for 7 rushing touchdowns between the two. They're a 2-dimensional team, which is something we haven't seen out of the Chants before. Before it was all Grayson McCall slinging the ball around. Speaking of which, he will not be in this week for NC State. But wow. The fact that the Chants actually have a dual threat offense is scary. And I think that we get to see that really come to fruition this week with a big win over Virginia.
Yeah, I can tell that you're beginning to believe in the Chants, but me, I just can't believe in them yet. However, I will say this about Virginia. They lose to Maryland in week 3. In week 2, they beat Wake Forest by a single point. There's nothing really that impressive to me about the Cavaliers. Even though I don't believe in Coastal, I believe Coastal's going to win this game. So, I don't know what to do. Coastal keeps making me look stupid. Anyway, it doesn't take much to do that, because an hour later, we get the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. They're 1-2. against Jacksonville State, who the Chants should be familiar with. They're 0-3. It's on ESPN Plus. Despite being 0-3, despite not really having any good games to their name, the Gamecocks are a 6-point favorite to beat the Golden Eagles. If that's not embarrassing, I don't know what is. Tibbs, should Southern Miss feel good about anything right now?
I think they're going to look really good on the field.
Oh, you mean like physically, like their outfit's going to look good?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
It'll be a good fashion show. Look, I think the Eagles have broken wings and trying to fly, and it's just not happening. We've all been there where really the only cure for a team that's in a struggle like this is to win, but they're not going to be able to do it this week. I think they'll compete, but I think Rich Rod is going to really put up a good fight there, especially with it being in Anniston, Alabama. I like Jacksonville State to win this game, as much as it hurts me that the Conference USA gets a win over the Sun Belt.
Yeah, and Jacksonville State, they were supposed to compete with the USA. Now 0-3. They're like the Troy of our conference. I will say this though, Southern Miss, they got good production last week with Tate Rodemaker, but then they also added Ethan Crawford to the quarterback mix, and he can run a little as well as throw. It was kind of fun to watch both of them in action. They didn't have enough juice to beat the Bulls in Hattiesburg. Can Will Hall really survive losing to an 0-3 Jacksonville State, Shane?
I think that would make it even closer to the end of the time for Will Hall. I wouldn't say he couldn't survive it. If he reels off enough wins to end the year to get to a bowl game, possibly, but I don't think that's likely if they lose this one. But as much as everything Tibbs said about Southern Miss in this one, I think you could almost apply it to Jacksonville State. Like, you need a win, and you maybe can't get the confidence to figure out how to do it until you actually win one. It's one of those games where both of these teams are desperate for a win, and I actually think maybe Southern Miss, even coming off a loss, but against a pretty solid South Florida team, maybe they got a little bit more momentum going into this one. I don't know for sure, but I'm kind of shocked Jacksonville State's winless at this point.
Yeah,
remember Jacksonville State got pounded to open the season by Coastal.
Yeah, Coastal. Yeah, then lost to Louisville, then lost to Eastern Michigan. They just can't find a team to beat. That's too bad. Too bad for CUSA. Oh, we feel so bad for them. Next game, it happens a little later. We're getting into the evening. It's 6:00 p.m. We see the Florida A&M Rattlers. They're 2-1, and they were enjoying being 2-0, beating up on some FCS teams before getting thumped by Miami. They take on Troy Trojans, the 0-3 former Sun Belt champions, or current Sun Belt champions, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. It's on ESPN Plus. There are no odds given because it's a FCS FBS matchup, but boy, the Troy could use an FBS matchup right now. You might know the Rattlers better than I do, Tibbs. Can Troy win this game, please?
Troy's been snake bitten this year, and I think that was evident in the Nevada game, and it's just kind of carried over from there. The Rattlers coming to town could not happen at a better time for Troy to just let loose and give a severe ass whooping to a team to get their minds right before they host ULM next week to open up Sunbelt Conference action.
Jared Parker, head coach of Troy, you deserve some quality Rattlers time. Is he going to get it, Shane?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not quite. I'm kind of almost done predicting like the huge wins against the FCS teams, like the 50-point blowouts, because I guess that's South Alabama, that's hard to come by. But I think it's going to be a comfortable win. I think 38-10, something like that sounds about right. And I think it's what Troy needs at this point, because like we said, it's been a tough schedule to start, tough road for Jared Parker. But I think this is where he gets his first win, and things start to head a little bit north for Troy.
Not since the ancient days of King Priam has Troy seen an 0-3 start. Let us hope that it doesn't become 0-4. Next game, 6:45. It's well, the Sun Belt. When they put you on, or when they put you on the SEC network, you always seem to have to start at odd times. Georgia's Southern Eagles are 2-1. They play number 5, the Ole Miss Rebels, Bears, Shark Things. I never know what to call them. They're 3-0. They're putting 50 points on everyone. Ole Miss is a 36-point favorite right now. Let me tell you guys something. The difference between the points that Ole Miss scored in Week 1 and the points Ole Miss scored in Week 3 is 36, and that's the Vegas spread. Is this some sort of Da Vinci Code I'm looking at? What am I looking at, Tibbs?
The Illuminati. This is where Lane Kiffin makes a name for himself to be in contention to go to Gainesville when Billy Napier leaves to go to Southern Miss, that is just south of Oxford, Mississippi. And
Wow,
the trifecta is complete.
The dots have connected. Thank you.
I have no idea how that has anything to do with this game, but Ole Miss is going to roll. They're great in Vaughn Hemingway, and that's all there is to it. Whether they're Sharks, they're Bears, they're Rebels, whatever they are, they're good at home, and Helton is about to find that out.
You know, in Oxford, they're calling Jackson Dart, the QB out of Ole Miss, a Heisman candidate. Nobody but Shane would know that better than anybody because I know he's been studying the Heisman candidates. But Shane, is 36 points just too much? Is that too big a spread?
I don't know. I mean, it's a huge spread, but I don't expect much from Georgia Southern in this one necessarily. Not that they even think Georgia Southern's bad. I just think Ole Miss is going to be a really tough test, and I don't know if Lane Kiffin is actually auditioning for the Florida job or if Ole Miss is a better job at this point. But yeah, I think he may be showing out for bigger things, but Ole Miss is just too good for Georgia Southern right now.
Yeah, you know, one thing that the Eagles can do, they can score points. So I don't know. That does seem to be a lot of points. But, you know, Ole Miss scored 76 points in the first week. That was against Furman, yes, but that's still a lot of points. So, yeah, that's pretty rough. That's going to be a tough game, but maybe not as tough as the last game on the docket, gentlemen. ULM Warhawks, the 2-0 Warhawks, the team that just thumped UAB, goes up against number 1 Texas Longhorns. They're 3-0. The game's at 7 p.m. You can see it on SEC Plus or ESPN Plus. I prefer ESPN Plus. The Longhorns, a massive 44.5-point favorite. It's time for the Manning experience to be introduced to the Warhawks. But let me tell you something. There is not going to be any more of a prepared team for this moment than the Warhawks under Brian Vincent. I will tell you that. And Tibbs, I want you to validate what I just said.
They'll be prepared. I have a lot of questions and concerns coming into this game, though. And you take away that number 1 in front of Texas, just overall. This is a great defense that the Longhorns have, and the Warhawks have been very successful in running the ball. But I don't think that they have the caliber of offensive line that will be able to sustain the holes for the running backs to get through. With that said, you got to shift to the pass. General Booty has 191 passing yards on the season.
That's not many yards.
ULM has not shown that they can really effectively throw the ball. So I'm interested to see how does this offense look over here. We know the outcome of the game, but I'm really focused on what can ULM go out there and show, and what can they do against a team that is way better than anyone else they're going to see this season, and how does that prepare us for next week against Troy and beyond?
You know, what's funny about Texas is that for years I made fun of Texas because it was always like, Texas is back! And then they wouldn't be back. Well, now they're back. So, Shane, do the Warhawks have a chance in this game, ... to beat the spread?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they'll beat the spread. I'm fully on the ULM bandwagon at this point. I love what
Aren't
Brian's
we all?
doing. But in this case, being on the bandwagon means I think this could be more like a 45-17 type of game than a 56-0 type of game. But yeah, I am with Tibbs on wanting to see if ULM can mix a little bit of a passing game in. It's obviously going to be a huge challenge to do anything different. But if they can run the ball well and occasionally throw it downfield, I think they have a chance to cover the spread, get on the scoreboard, and you get out of Austin alive, basically.
So Shane, if the general leads the Warhawks to the ultimate victory as the Heisman Trophy winner, do we lock up one vote from one Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record?
You know the answer to this because we talked about it before we started recording. I did make a promise that if ULM beats Texas, General Booty will get my Heisman vote no matter what else happens the rest of the season.
Yeah, you'd have
I
to.
love it.
So I'm on the record.
And let me say this. ULM's win total was 2.5 games. What a way to get the third. Now they might go 3-9, but what a way to get that third win.
Would you settle for being 3-9 if it included a win over number 1 Texas?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, how great would that be? That it'd be like you're on cloud 9 and you just never come down, ever.
You think that Appalachian State is aggravating with their win over Michigan? ULM win over Texas would be just astoundingly aggravating.
I would eat nothing but steak and hamburgers for the rest of my life. Kind of like I do anyway, but
There would be a billboard out on the highway commemorating that game forever. And that's it, guys. We finished. We're done with second and short. We survived.
Second short.
No, stop! You're killing it. You're going to kill the gong. You got me coughing. I'm almost dead.
And for that, we're thankful. We're also thankful for plugs, promos, and parting shots. Jeremy, we'll lead it off with you because I know that you always have the best.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm always prepared.
Or the longest, whatever comes first.
This won't be the best or the longest, but I do want to talk a little bit about something that popped up today, something that's going on with the Tennessee Volunteers. They have announced quite brazenly, almost like, and for the sake of transparency, I guess they just wanted to pull off the Band-Aid. They have announced that tickets to volunteer games starting next year will be 10% more, as they're adding a fee to pay for what they're calling a talent fee. And that will be for them to pay for Tennessee volunteer athletes. Kind of what the NIL is doing. Schools are being allowed to pay directly. Now they're going to fund that through ticket sales. And once again, that shows you that it doesn't matter how much money the broadcast companies are making, how much money the universities are pulling in, how much money the apparel companies, the sports-related companies are making off of this, how much money the coaches are pulling down, the assistant coaches, the ADs. It doesn't matter how much money those guys have. They're not going to put in a goddamn cent into paying student athletes. The people who are going to end up paying student athletes, they're us, the chumps, the people who buy the tickets, who pay for the parking, who buy the sweatshirts, who are hit up for donations to the collective, to the charity foundation. Once again, it's the fans. The fans are the ones that are going to pay the talent fee. And if we don't pay the talent fee, we're going to be told that we're bad fans. I am so tired of this system. Why are the rich people in this system not paying in, but the poor people in this system are? One day, somebody's going to have to revolt. It might be tomorrow. It might be the day when I'm asked to pay an extra 10% on a ticket. So maybe somebody gets a Land Rover to drive to practice. I am tired of this, and it needs to stop now. And that's my parting shot.
Jeremy, let me add something to that.
Okay.
In 2017, the Astros opened up the schedule
Mm-hmm.
with the Kansas City Royals.
Okay.
Standing room only tickets were $175. Standing room only.
Outstanding. Huh.
However, if you waited just 1 day later, same ticket, $7. There is a premium when the good things are going on. Opening day is a great thing going on, just like Tennessee football is a great thing going on. So you should have to pay a premium to see a bunch of bright orange guys running around.
God. You are in the pocket of big NIL. That's what's happened.
Like, what does NIL stand for?
Name, image, likeness.
And where is the name, image, and likeness most prominent of these athletes and bringing in the most money?
I would say Tennessee.
It's the TV deals.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. Yes. The TV deal. Yes.
So that's like what's the most ridiculous to me is that money can't go directly to the athletes, apparently.
Why?
And that is the very definition of name, image, and likeness. They're putting their name, image, and likeness on TV and then getting paid $1 billion for it. But that money can't go directly to the athletes. It's got to be something else. It's just an incredibly insane system.
No, you got to squeeze it out of us. The guys that just pay and pay.
I just want to think of them paying their players from this 10% talent fee in bags in McDonald's bags just to keep the tradition alive.
Yes, at least have some sort of sense of history there.
Exactly. Shane, what do you have for your plug promo parting shot other than telling us all about the Daily News Record?
Parting shot. It's the first year of the 12-team college football playoff. We all know this. What a lot of people, I think, still don't get is that there's no guarantee spots for any conference. The guaranteed spots in the playoff goes to the top 5 conference champions.
Yes.
And so people will say there's a guaranteed spot for a group of 5 team, right? Like thinking, oh, well, the 4 power conference programs are going to automatically be ranked up there. But let's take a look at what's happening already this season.
Let's do it.
We've got some big wins in the MAC. We've got some good teams in the Mountain West and the Sun Belt. And so let's just imagine a scenario where, say, a team I follow somewhat, Kansas. They're 1-2 right now. They've got a loss at home to UNLV. But say Jalen Daniels starts playing like we've seen him play before at quarterback. Kansas could still win the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
If they do. Are they getting an automatic spot?
Oh.
If Florida State changes quarterbacks and suddenly becomes the team that was a national championship favorite and wins the ACC with a couple of losses that they already have, that's a possibility.
I'm getting angry.
Quarterbacks and get it together. Like, let's start dreaming a little bit about the scenario where maybe 2 group of 5 teams can get into this playoff and really shake things up in the very first year. I honestly think like it's a possibility, not a long shot, sure, but I could see some multi-loss teams winning one of those 2 conferences, maybe both. And then we get to really have that discussion about, which team should get that automatic berth into the playoff and how they rank these conference champions. And I think it'll be fun. It may end up costing the G5 in the long run because they may say, well, we can't do it this way anymore. But I think it's awesome that that's a possibility in the first year.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Now we know where Shane was for the last episode. He was at home playing NCAA football because that's the only way that Florida State would be able to turn this ship around.
Absolutely.
It's not like they got to play Alabama and Georgia the rest of the way.
For my parting shot, we discussed Texas State leaving. We discussed ULM and locking up a Heisman Trophy vote if they beat Texas. All of that has led to one of the most notable and strongest earthquakes in the state of Texas that's ever been recorded. When Tuesday morning, a 5.1 magnitude earthquake shook the Lone Star State. Sure, it was up in the Panhandle near Lubbock, but we like to think that it would trickle all the way down to Austin and San Marcos with all the big news that we have broken in this episode.
Oh.
Hey, that's bigger than Shane and his damn Florida State's going to right the ship.
Listen, before we go, I have even bigger news. You guys ready for this?
Sure.
Today, Charlie Huff offered any Buckeye that transferred to Marshall an all-you-can-eat NIL deal from Tudor's Biscuits.
That should work.
I don't even want to comment on that.
Have you been to Tudor's Biscuit World?
No.
That should work.